Welcome back, everyone, to another Eats Beat Live, the most delicious live stream of the Metroplex. I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
It is coming around to August. That means Restaurant Week, which is really Restaurant Month in Fort Worth. We'll talk about some of those dinner specials where you could go out and have dinner for $49, $59, a lot of the best restaurants in town. And in general, we're going to talk about what's going on Magnolia and what's going on in restaurants tonight. We have a couple of restaurateurs who have been around Magnolia for 15, 20 years. We have Vance Martin from Lily's, Martin Thompson from Cat City Grill are going to tell us all about what they've seen on Magnolia through the years and what's going on there now. Vance, Martin, how are you doing?
Doing well, Bud. Thanks for having us.
You know,
Good,
you guys
good,
have
thank you.
you guys have seen everything change over there. You saw Magnolia become cool, and now you've seen Magnolia grow up a little bit. And both of your restaurants have changed along with the times as it's gone on. Talk about just in general. Everybody talks about restaurant business right now. Why are so many places closing? What do you see going on in Magnolia?
Well, I see on Magnolia that we're still full. We still have plenty of places and not a lot of vacancies. Um, we see a lot of other areas that are as hot as we once were in the beginning when we were kind of the big fish in the small pond. And so we've had to make some adjustments to work a little harder to get people over to Magnolia. It used to be as tough as falling off a log, but now we have to work a little harder at it. And but it's still Magnolia. It's still classic. It's still unique. It's still the only place in Fort Worth where you can have this kind of experience and ambiance. And so I think Martin and I are just kind of been growing with the times, and especially in the last 3 years, where everything's been a little different for everyone. So it has its challenges and it certainly has its rewards. So I don't believe either one of us have done Restaurant Week with our places on Magnolia. So this is a first for us, and we decided to join forces on some collaborative advertising. And Richard King at Ellerby's is also.
Ellerby is doing Restaurant Week too, and so it's
Yeah, yeah.
you
So
have Lily's,
we're
Cat
kind of
City, and
tag teaming
Ellerby
it here
all.
on. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but we're kind of teaming it here on Magnolia, and hopefully between the three of us, we can all help ourselves and help each other.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, now Vance, you've got the kind of the Baylor All Saints end of Magnolia. You've got the business near the hospital district. You'll probably even have a little more when King Tut moves. King Tut's moving to Rosedale in
Great.
July, and so you'll be one of the closest restaurants to the hospital. Martin, you're more in Middle Magnolia. You've got a lot of medical business around you, but you're down closer to the past Henderson and kind of in mid Magnolia. Are you seeing the same things Vance sees? You see anything different?
No, it's pretty much the same thing. It's very typical. I mean, people go do their routes and go to their new hotspots and new hotspot areas, such as Clear Fork and so on. But they definitely come back. I think everyone always says COVID changed everything, and some of that is working from home. So they're not going to lunch as much. Um, and then of course all the delivery, the Uber Eats and the DoorDash or whatever uh, people are
Yeah.
using.
Yeah, I saw a story this week, and I mentioned this in one of the stories that deliveries in the last year are up 162% over the previous year. And that's not up with COVID. That's just up from last year that there's two and a half times more deliveries going on. So I think that some of what we're seeing with restaurants is that the restaurants that do a lot of delivery are really thriving, and the ones that aren't tuned in with delivery or that rely on a lot of sit down bar business are having some more problems. How have you all both dealt with the whole changeover to delivery?
Well, we just started at Lily's just actually this week. Started with Favor. Um, and so that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I never did it in the past because pre-COVID, my lunch business was so strong. I honestly couldn't really handle much more lunch business.
Right.
But the lunch segment is a big part of what has not returned post COVID, and that holds true for most restaurants.
Of
Lunch
course,
is
Vance, you can turn it on and off. You can turn it off if you get busy, and then turn it back on when you're not busy. So it's not an all or nothing thing with delivery. Martin, who's your Cat City delivery service?
Well, right now we're not. I haven't teamed up with anyone yet. I'm looking at uh, my options, and it's either going to be DoorDash or Uber Eats, but I haven't had a final decision yet, and I'm just figuring out the third party aspect for um, the delivery aspect and the accounting aspect of it. So make
I don't
sure
know.
everything can be.
Speaking of Magnolia, I don't know if you've been in Spice lately, but Spice took out like 4 of their dining tables, and that's all pickup orders now. Those are all pickup counter, and I go in Spice to eat, and there's 3 other couples sitting around eating. But there's a table full of about 8 or 10 sacks waiting for delivery drivers to pick up. I know that Thai food lends itself more to delivery than what you guys do, but it just makes me think there's a lot of delivery business out there. Okay, let's talk about Restaurant Week. Restaurant Week is a annual promotion. Restaurants sign up for it to be part of it. It's the whole month of August almost. It lasts from 2 to 4 weeks depending on the restaurant. They offer $29 lunches, $49 and $59 dinners, and that's a whole 3-course, 4-course dinner. And then of that, even though you really have gotten a fairly cheap deal on dinner, 20% of that goes to the Lena Pope Children's Services Agency in Fort Worth. So the $49 dinners at Lily's in Cat City, $10 of that goes back to Lena Pope. So you feel like you're doing something good while you're having dinner out. The Lily's dinner, let's see, Vance has got sea bass or chimichurri pork chop as the entrees. Cat City has a grilled mai or a chicken cacciatore. And I think, Steve, talk about this. What do we have photos of?
Well, we do have the chicken cacciatore. So
With
if
Kalamata olives.
yeah, so if you want to talk about that a little bit, Martin.
Well,
Talk about your
Chef.
menu.
So we're doing the $49, as you said, 3-course. You get a choice of an appetizer, which would be a tomato basil goat cheese soup or an arugula salad, or some meatballs to start, and then, as you had pictured there, the chicken cacciatore with Kalamata olives, peppers and mushrooms, uh, or we're
You
offering
also have a
the
steak
mahi
or a
mahi.
mahi mahi.
Yes, a 5-ounce flat iron steak. Yeah, and they're all going to be served with mashed potatoes, and some are succotash.
And then the desserts sound good. You have chocolate mousse or bread pudding as your dessert. So that's a good dinner at Cat City. Vance, you've changed your menu, so this is a new one. By the way, both of you are serving Restaurant Week August 5th through 18th or 17th. So you're doing the
correct.
first 2 weeks. These specials will be good. These are $49 dinners for the first 2 weeks of the restaurant special in August. Uh, Vance, you've got a pork chop or sea bass, right? Do we have anything to talk about there?
Yeah, we do. These events are a great opportunity to not only help and give back, but to also showcase some off menus items. So, which is what we've done this year. The porterhouse pork chop. It's a 16 ounce. It's obviously a good size. It's a bone in, so lose a little bit there. But we're making the chimichurri and the pineapple salsa. We do everything in house, and it's just we wanted to do kind of fun summertime. I think the pork chop it lends itself to be a little heavy, but we tried to lighten it up with what we did with it. The sea bass. We've done this one before on a couple of holidays. It's always been very, very well received. And we do it over a nice wilted spinach and uh, smoked mushrooms in a parsley parmesan risotto, which sounds incredibly simple, and it really is, but it's surprisingly really flavorful and a really solid risotto.
Vance, I just want to know, can I get gorgonzola fries with that on the side?
But you can get whatever you want at Lily's, but we will have gorgonzola fries always available.
Do not leave Lily's without having gorgonzola fries. That's
Oh, well,
he
thank you.
does the first and the best that were on menus around here. Somebody else's just had no comparison. You all said you're partners with Ellerby, so we should talk about what Richard King and is doing at Ellerby. Ellerby is dinner's $59 there. One of the nicest restaurants in town. Really, one of the nicest restaurants in Dallas or Fort Worth. The entrees, they have a seared salmon with summer squash. They have an eggplant dish that's a vegetarian dish, and they have a braised leg of lamb. It starts with a salad or with shrimp, and it ends with bread pudding. And then they also have wine pairings. So you can for 70 for like $85, you can add wine to it. So anyway, Ellerby is also doing it the first 2 weeks. Steve, anything?
Well, let's see. I did have another picture. I guess a watermelon wedge. Is that
Right,
this?
that's it.
Uh,
I have to clarify. This is a larger order and portion than what comes on the meal. I did that for picture purposes. And there's actually another. There's a little balsamic drizzle that goes over top of the shrimp in the cucumber, red onion, feta, fresh mint leaves, and some other seasonings that we put on the fresh watermelon. I had this. I had this today because I had to make one to take the picture, and I certainly couldn't let it go to waste. And it was absolutely outstanding. I mean, just a perfect, great summer dish.
It looks like a nice summer dish. Martin, Vance, what are the most common favorite menu items at your restaurant? So someone says, if I go to Cat City, what do people usually get? Martin, what do people usually get at lunch and at dinner and at brunch? Because I know those are all really different menus for you.
Right. So as you mentioned, we offer three different menus. Lunch, probably our club sandwich or just one of our hamburgers. I mean, they're big portions and very filling. Brunch, any of the omelets, is like kind of ideal. And then for dinner, believe it or not, of course, I always push the steaks, but meatloaf. Meatloaf is one of our favorites, the crowd favorites. We sell so much of it.
And the meatloaf is made from the steak scraps, is that right?
It's made from our trimmings, yeah, and it's not your mother's meatloaf. It's not topped with ketchup or anything like that. We do a mushroom demi glaze.
Vance, what are your top sellers?
Well, naturally, the gorgonzola fries, but let's take them out of the equation. We take the donuts and the gorgonzola fries out of the equation. Lunch, it's probably the wild turkey sandwich or the chicken salad sandwich. But above all at lunch is the Lily's House Burger or the Poblano Burger. Just that house burger just outsells everything. At dinner, my top three are the lobster ravioli, the lemon pepper chicken and shrimp, and the seafood trio, which is the only item still on the menu from when I opened 17 years ago. And none of those three are my favorite. We do a double duck and wild mushroom gumbo that is, I'll put it up against anybody's gumbo anytime. That's personally my favorite. We serve it with dirty risotto instead of just white rice, and puts that dish over the top.
Is that on the menu?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And both of you have been around Fort Worth a long time. Vance, you started Cafe Panacea, nearly 30 years ago, right? You've been knocking around restaurants.
Closer to 40, bud.
Closer to 40.
Yeah. 1988 was 36. I guess we're coming up on 36. I've known you for 40 years, but
Panacea was downtown.
sir,
Panacea was downtown, and then it was on
No, that was
Henderson.
Henderson in Pennsylvania.
Henderson. Okay.
Yeah, and you may remember before that Heights Corner Cafe that was on
Right.
Campbell and Pershing,
Right.
and I had kind of taken over that spot, and that was the kind of the groundwork for Cafe Panacea, and that was in about 1986 or 7. Um, so some of the chicken salad came from there, and here we are this many years later, and a couple other things. Tabbouleh came from Heights Corner also, and we still do it after all these years.
And you've done that turkey burger forever.
Yes,
that
that
you
was
have
one of my first original recipes, and that came from Cafe Panacea, probably in the around 90 or 91.
It's not just a boring patty turkey burger. It's a pretty
Oh
good.
no, it's got a lot going on. It does, indeed.
I want to come back and get you to talk about your Miss Baird's bread ads and decor. But Martin, you've been around too a little bit. Talk about some of your odyssey through the restaurants.
All in total, I've been in the industry for 36 years. I had quite a stint there with Del Frisco's, Double Eagle, when it opened till I was there with them for till 2008, and then got out of business for a short stint, and then back into it with Vance at Cat City Grill, and we opened at Cat City Grill in 2010. So Cat City Grill's been open 14 and a half years now, almost 15, coming on 15.
Vance, when you first opened Lily's, it was on this, next to this other building, and the wall inside Lily's had this giant Ms. Baird's bread ad that used to be an exterior wall of the building next door, and now you've added more Ms. Baird's decor there, and it's kind of a tribute to Nenny Baird and the company that she started over there on Washington Avenue, not far away on the south side.
Was there a question?
I kind of thought you might talk about it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, so that wall was an exterior wall in the 20s, and it got covered up with that still some remaining plaster in the early 40s. So when the building was rehabbed in 2002, the landlord noticed as they chipped away the plaster that something was under it, and he's a little bit of a Southside historian himself. So he said, hey, let's be careful and see what's under there, before we go much further. Well, it turned out to be the mural from the side of the building that was an advertisement, way back when. And so because Mrs. Baird is so iconic for Fort Worth, we just kind of played off of it. And then one of her granddaughters brought me several other pictures from the around 1926, I believe. And so we had those framed and hung. And then I had this old friend that gave me a picture of the bakery that he had hanging in his house that he allowed me to hang in Lily's. And then everything else you see in the restaurant that says Mrs. Baird are things that people have just brought me over the years. I have somebody brought me a Zippo lighter. It's never been used. I was able to date it back to about 1947. Just all kinds of fun stuff. So again, we just didn't plan it that way. It just happened, and it was just fun to kind of run with it over the years.
Yeah, and this is a throwback to the days when Ms. Baird's was founded here, became this bread empire, and before it was sold.
Fabulous story, indeed.
Local people. Steve, do you have any other questions about food, dining, restaurants, about where to go, what's going on?
Restaurant Week, one of the things with Restaurant Week is I always like to go through and check all the menus. So I know what I'm, before I decide where I'm going to go.
And the place to go for that is lenapope.org, and they have under their activities, I think it is, or how to getting involved, they have a Restaurant Week tab. If you try to go to the Restaurant Week website, you'll be lost forever. So go to the Lena Pope website and fool around at the top until you get to the Restaurant Week page, and then you'll see an organized chart with all the Tarrant County restaurants, their dates, and a link to click on for their menus. And so that's where to go to look for the 30 or so restaurants that are involved, including our guest today, Lili's Bistro, Vance Martin, Cat City Grill, Martin Thompson, the two Martins of Magnolia, and then LRB Fine Foods is also participating, Richard King. So,
So other than us, if I may ask, other than us, what are y'all excited to see who's participating in Restaurant Week?
I'm just happy to see all the new people, and I'm happy to see the really good menus. I'm happy to see Ben Merritt's menu, his brunch menu at Fitzgerald. I think that's going to be good. There's just a lot of really good full meals. I tell people to go look at the menus because, as you know, there's some restaurants that kind of skimp on Restaurant Week, and they don't really put their best foot forward out there, and they don't help the restaurant, and they don't help Lena Pope because they put out something really tiny, and people go away saying, "Well, that wasn't really dinner." And so you all have really good, 3-course dinners. It sounds like. I like the lunches and the brunches and the things you can go and do for less than $30. B&B Butchers always has a tremendous number of selections. They make almost their whole menu Restaurant Week pricing, and so you have great choices there. I think that there's just so much to pick from, and it's a way to get to know and visit new restaurants. So what do you all see? Anybody else you like out of the menu list?
Martin?
I think exactly what you said, Bud, is just the new people that are participating. You always get the standards on there that do it year after year, but it's come to a point where we all got in. That's why Vance and I decided to do it and join forces with Richard, and you can knock out three restaurants on one street. So come to each of our restaurants in a short amount of time.
There's a $49 dinner at Don Artemio. You can go to Don Artemio, a James Beard finalist, and have a small dinner for a reasonable price, or you can have their $99 premium dinner is really nice, and $20 of that goes to Lena Pope. There are a lot of good choices, a lot of places to go try. That's all coming up in August. It starts on August 5th. A couple of restaurants are starting the weekend before. You can read all about that on lenapope.org. So look forward to Restaurant Week. All the restaurants supporting Lena Pope and serving specials and bringing out business in August before things get kicking back up for the fall. So our guest today, Vance Martin from Lili's, Martin Thompson from Cat City's Grill. Hello to Richard King from LRB, who's part of this too. And until next time on Eats Beat Live, I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Bud.
Thanks, gentlemen.